Well, thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It is incredibly dark, it's incredibly cool, and it's incredibly wet. Don't know if you can see this here, but this is the rain hitting off the conservatory here at the house at Mark Vogan HQ. And yeah, 12.5 Celsius is being recorded at the weather station in the back garden as of 13 minutes past 4 in the afternoon. I actually practically need a light on in here. Really remarkable stuff, actually. A real wet day it's turned out to be here, just 16 miles or so north of the Inverness area. Of course, low pressure moved off to the east. A northerly component to the airstream coming in. And of course, frequent heavy showers has been the name of the game. As you can see here, currently rainfall rates at around it's just updated there, 7.19 millimeters per hour, and we've got 15.49 mil of rain here as of this afternoon. So it's the wettest day at the house in August so far. It isn't necessarily the coolest actually, because we did get up to, what temperature did we get up to earlier on this afternoon? So 15.8 Celsius, but that is not the lowest daytime maximum so far at the house, but by far, like I say, the wettest conditions so far this month. What's it like where you are? Is it as dismal where you are? I don't think it is further south, actually. I think it's mainly further north across the British Isles that we're seeing the very heavy rainfall at the moment here. Let's have a look at the latest rainfall radar here of the Weather Online, and you can see what's taking place. If we get the latest run, we can get the most accurate reading. Hope everybody's doing well. Be sure to like, share, and indeed hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I greatly appreciate your support. Of course, we do have the all-important global weather and climate report coming up this Sunday. No video tomorrow, as always. It takes Saturday off, of course. But yeah, this is the latest rainfall radar here of Weather Online. You can see here plenty of showers rattling in, coming around an area of low pressure that has now moved off to the east, of course. Temperature-wise, it's not just as fierce across France. You can see here the current temperatures, and we don't have the 40s now. It's actually only the mid to high 20s across this region here, where we did see 40s for several days. Still very hot conditions across the south of Spain, and you can also see some pretty hot conditions elsewhere in Europe, Eastern Europe, Southeastern Europe in particular. We've got mid to high 30s at the moment here. Looking at the UK, current temperatures here, and very chilly, of course. Only a temperature of 11.6 at Loch Lascarnock, wind chill of 9.3. We do have mid to high teens across the Greater Glasgow and Edinburgh areas. Also the teens across Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. And you have to go all the way to the southeast of England to manage to get into the low 20s, and only scraping the low 20s at best. So this is an interesting tweet here by James Peacock. I'm going to look more and more with regards to the autumn forecast. Now, I'm a little bit hesitant. I don't actually issue an autumn forecast. I tend to only stick to summer and winter time. But autumn is a difficult one to call. Now, September is quite often, as is the case with May, a fairly quiet month weather-wise, historically speaking. High pressure tends to be fairly dominant during both May and indeed September. And it's interesting actually what James has put out here. September may well be in with a chance this year. Forecast models suggest that the MJO wakes up soon at long last, because it had been fairly benign for recent weeks here, with a Pacific transit starting in the first week or so of September, which should encourage, within a week, Western Europe patterns conducive to moving heat north towards the UK here. So if we look at the mean sea level pressure here, according to this chart in particular here, I don't know whether this is of course based on the September MJO active in phase 5, forward propagating with an El Nino base state. So this is with the backdrop of the El Nino and a phase 5 MJO. You can see here that it has more, in the sense, lower than average pressure at sea level to the west, southwest of the UK over the North Atlantic here, higher than average pressure through the tropics, as you can see here. But notice here that as we move towards the period, this is the lag time of days 7 through 13. And you can see here a bit of a change taking place here. So that negative anomaly here in the means at sea level pushes further west and allows higher pressure to become more established over and just north of the British Isles here, which is quite interesting stuff actually. We've got a very strong positive IOD as well, so that needs to be taken into consideration with regards to the upcoming winter season here. The type of pattern that we've had during the July and August period, it'll be interesting to see whether we get some sort of a repeat. Now, the Atlantic did uptick in activity in recent times. We've got the remnants of Hurricane Emily that we're looking at carefully, and we need to take that into consideration here. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with regards to this pattern as we step into the month of September. Now, the latest run of the CFSV2 is looking like this. If it's not updating, I'll show you that. See if we can get to the 0Z. Unfortunately, it is updating. But the 18Z run here, this is the upcoming 5 or 7 day period, of the CFSV2, indicating below average temperatures. So we'll maintain this theme through the remainder of this month, the remainder of summer, and it is a cool and relatively unsettled end to summer here. We'll look at the upper air pattern here for the upcoming 7 days, and you can see here the core of the trough, a fairly deep trough actually at that, centered over the North Sea here. There's the blocking area of high pressure to the west. Into the following period here, you can still see that negative, but it weakened and shifted a little bit further south and east here. So that would indicate, in the means anyway, higher pressure trying to topple its way in off the Atlantic here. And then you notice here the period 7 through the 14th of September, heights are starting to come up according to the latest run of the CFSV2 here. Let's have a look at the precipitation anomalies here, and you can see here slightly wet than average, very wet compared to average across the heart of Europe into Scandinavia. As you can see here, slightly wetter, like I say, compared to average across the UK. So week 2, there's that area of high pressure trying to build in from the west here, so we start to go from wetter than average to below average rainfall. Still slightly wetter than average, with that trough shifting south and east over southern portions of the UK, as you can see here. And then as the heights come up a little bit more, we start to see a kind of average rainfall anomaly here, which is quite interesting to see here. The problem that we've got is the tropics are going to start to quieten down. That then shifts the upper air pattern here. What we've got at the moment is systems trying to move out of the tropics up towards the middle altitude region, and that then has an impact not only in the jet stream. It can start to create more of an amplification of the pattern here. Notice here, this is the area of the current situation. So we've got that area of low pressure on the south coast, or just south of Norway here. We've got that kind of relatively slack northerly airflow here. 850 temperatures here, as you can see, below average here over the British Isles, thanks to that northerly airstream coming down. Heat now starting to get shifted out of France in the central areas of Europe here. So you can see here that we've come down with regards to the temperatures. As that cooler air comes down from the north here, it's starting to kind of push the heat out of even Iberia. It's not quite as prominent here. And then we continue to see this northerly flow, more areas of low pressure dominating the pattern as we go towards the final days of the month here. So let's skip back to the current setup here and see what takes place. So there's that area of high pressure over the North Atlantic. There's the remnants of Emily squeezing in between an area of high pressure just to the east of Newfoundland, another area of high pressure just north of the Azores. We've got that energy running in between that. This is transporting that warmth, and you can see that reflective of the 850s here. There's that warm air getting driven northwards, and what that's doing is, in turn, that's forcing the southward displacement of subarctic air. Nothing majorly cold, but certainly it's keeping temperatures subdued. So the maximum for August is going to be 28.4. July's maximum was only 30.2, and June's maximum for the UK was 32.2 Celsius here. So the warmest temperature of the entire meteorological summer is set at 32.2 back in June. Will September get close to that? That remains to be seen. And of course, the tropics have to get taken into consideration with regards to the type of pattern we see. So we'll play through this GFS operational run. This is only one run, of course, so we'll take this with somewhat of a pinch of salt. But you notice here, this is the remnants of Emily then coming ashore across the UK by Tuesday of next week here. But it's not a deep feature. It's really just going to enhance the instability within the atmosphere. Showers and longer spells of rain will be the theme, along with average to below average temperatures here through the final days of the month here. And then as we continue to play through the loop here, it looks as if the GFS run right the way through much of the first week of September keeps things rather unsettled, actually, if you notice here. So that's quite interesting to see. It doesn't really indicate much in the way of higher pressure all the way through to the 10th of September. So do we see this build-up of pressure like James's tweet here of week 2 based on the phase 6 MJO and the El Nino base state? Or is the GFS operational got something to speak about here? Let's have a look at the ECMWF to see if there's any real difference here between the models here. So remember the CFSV2, it shows towards the second week of September higher pressure building in, but the first week remaining fairly cool and fairly unsettled here. So we do have a bit of a confliction in the models, so to speak, with regards to the overall outlook here. So we'll play through the final days of the month. We've got the frontal system moving through. We've got a relatively unstable atmosphere. High pressure firmly displaced to the south and southwest of the British Isles here. Have a kind of slack, relatively fresh northwesterly airflow into the early portion of next week here. More areas of low pressure continuing to enhance the instability within the atmosphere here. And then as we step into week 1, it looks as if low pressure is still never far away. Maybe a temporary visit of higher pressure into the early portion of the month here. But yeah, it doesn't look as if the ECMWF or the GFS operational is wanting to buy into anything particularly stable or indeed warmer through at least the first week of September. My hunch is that we start off relatively unsettled, and then as the month progresses, we start to see higher pressure building over the northwest of Europe, settling things down. We can't maintain this unsettled theme forever. Quite often with kind of cool, wet mid and second halves of summertime, you tend to get a break for a couple of weeks during the autumn, especially the early and mid-autumn tends to be a little bit more settled. And then as we press towards October and November, that's when you start to see the more unsettled theme coming back into play. And remember, what happens during the month of, particularly late September, early October, into November, if you get a lot of rain, sometimes that can tend to correlate to something a little bit colder during the early portion of winter season, i.e. December. So upcoming global weather and climate report this Sunday, we'll look at the global picture, the extremes that are taking place around the world. We'll look at that, and then on Monday, I'm hoping to talk a bit about autumn, late autumn, and the winter season. So stay tuned. I am promising you that I will talk about winter probably on Monday of next week, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your day tomorrow, and I'll see you again on Sunday with the Global Weather and Climate Report. Stay tuned. Bye for now.